This morning we are going to look at food illnesses, causes, symptoms, prevention and treatment. Let's quickly go to the introduction. Foodborne illnesses are a significant public health concern worldwide, affecting millions of people every day. Let's define foodborne illnesses. A foodborne illness is a disease that results from consuming food or drinking or a drink that has been contaminated with harmful pathogens, and some of these harmful pathogens include bacteria, viruses, and parasites. These pathogens can cause a range of symptoms which range from mild to mild gastrointestinal discomfort to severe illness, or even it can lead to death. Let's look at the importance of preventing foodborne illnesses. Foodborne illnesses can have serious health consequences, which include dehydration, kidney failure, and even death. Therefore, preventing foodborne illnesses becomes very important, especially when we are protecting the public health and reducing the incidence of food-related illnesses. Let's look at the types of foodborne illnesses. The first type is bacterial infections. Within the bacterial infections, we have bacteria like Salmonella, Escherichia coli, Listeria. These are some of the species that cause bacterial infections. Well, there can also be many other examples. The second one is viral infections. Viral infections can be caused by norovirus, hepatitis B, and so many others. We have parasitic infections. Parasitic infections include Giardia, Cryptosporidium, and so many others. Then we have toxins. Another type is caused by toxins. Examples of toxins include botulism, Staphylococcus aureus, and many others. These pathogens can be present in a variety of foods, which include meat, poultry, eggs, dairy products, and vegetables. Bacterial infections. Let's look at bacterial infections in detail. Salmonella is a type of bacteria which is mostly found in raw or undercooked poultry, eggs, unpasteurized milk. The symptoms of Salmonella infection include diarrhea, abdominal cramps, and fever. Escherichia coli or E. coli is also a type of bacteria which is found also in undercooked beef, raw meat, raw milk, and raw vegetables. Some strains of E. coli can cause severe illnesses, including kidney failure and also anemia. Listeria Listeria is also a type of bacteria found in deli meats, soft cheese, and the unpasteurized dairy products. Listeria infections can be particularly dangerous for the pregnant women and people who have weak immune systems. In pregnant women, Listeria infection can lead to miscarriage, stillbirth, or even severe illnesses. The Novavirus is a highly contagious virus that can spread rapidly in places like schools, restaurants, cruise ships. Norovirus can also cause severe vomiting and diarrhea, and it can also be dangerous, particularly for the young children and older adults. Hepatitis A is a viral infection that can be transmitted through contaminated food, contaminated water. Hepatitis A can lead to liver damage and flu-like symptoms. Parasitic infections. Under parasitic infections, we have Giardia. Giardia is a parasite commonly found in contaminated water sources, such as the lakes and the streams. Giardia infection can cause diarrhea, abdominal cramps, and nausea. Cryptosporidium is a parasite that is also found in untreated water and food. Cryptosporidium infections can cause severe diarrhea, vomiting, and also dehydration. Botulism is also a type of toxin produced by bacteria, Clostridium. Botulism can be caused by consuming improperly canned or preserved food. And the symptoms of botulism include double vision, muscle weakness, and difficulties in breathing. Staphylococcus aureus is a type of bacteria that can produce a toxin that also causes food poisoning. Staphylococcus aureus is mostly found on the human skin and can be transmitted through improper handling and preparation of food. The symptoms of Staphylococcus aureus food poisoning include nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Let's look at the causes of foodborne illnesses. The first cause is consumption of food that has been contaminated with harmful microorganisms. Second cause is cross-contamination of food during preparation or storage. Then the third one is inadequate cooking or reheating of food. Let's continue with the sources of contamination. We said improper handling and storage, cross-contamination, and unsanitary conditions. Let's look at improper handling and storage in details. Improper handling and storage of food can lead to contamination. How does it lead to contamination? 1. Leaving food out of room temperature for too long, or using dirty utensils or containers, and not washing hands before handling food. These are examples of improper handling and storage. Therefore, it is essential to handle and store food properly to prevent growth of harmful bacteria. Cross-contamination. Cross-contamination is when harmful pathogens are transferred from one food to another. How can these harmful pathogens be transferred from one food to another? One, by using the same cutting board or utensils for raw and cooked vegetables. For example, you've been seeing several times that some people cut meat, then after cutting meat, cross-contamination is when harmful pathogens are transferred from one food to another. For example, using the same cutting board or utensils for raw and cooked foods, or not washing hands after handling raw meat. This can lead to cross-contamination. On many occasions you have seen people working in the restaurants, especially when they are in a hurry, after using the chopping board for cutting the raw meat, then quickly they don't wash their hands, then they go and they start preparing salads. This can lead to contamination. Therefore, it is important to keep raw meat separate from other foods and to clean and sanitize utensils and surfaces to prevent contamination. Unsanitary conditions. When preparing food, if food is prepared in unsanitary conditions, this can also lead to contamination. For instance, the food handlers who do not wash their hands before preparing food, they can spread harmful bacteria to the food. For example, somebody went and visited the toilet, then after visiting the toilet, he or she does not wash hands, then begins immediately preparing food. You never know. The fingers, under the fingers that were not washed, some of the feces which could be containing salmonella could have remained there. So if he doesn't wash hands, then the food is contaminated. Also using dirty equipment or equipment that is not properly cleaned, and also not sanitizing food preparation areas. These are examples of unsanitary condition. Okay? These examples of unsanitary condition occur especially in the butcher. For example, if the cow was having an infection and then the butchers slaughter the cow, then they know then the area where they slaughtered the cow was not decontaminated, then it means that this one cow may end up infecting several other cows that have been slaughtered. Let's look at the symptoms of foodborne illnesses. Some of the common symptoms of foodborne illnesses include nausea and vomiting, diarrhea, fever, dehydration, abdominal pain, and cramping, and bloody stools. Nausea and vomiting. Nausea and vomiting are some of the common symptoms of foodborne illnesses caused by a wide range of pathogens. The vomiting, when does it start? This vomiting can start within a few hours after eating the food that has been contaminated, or after drinking the juice or fruit that has been contaminated. Nausea and vomiting can lead to dehydration, and if someone is dehydrated, he or she may require immediate medical attention, especially if the vomiting is severe and also it's prolonged, because if it's severe or it's prolonged, it's not good for the individual because it can lead to death. Diarrhea is also another common symptom of foodborne illnesses, and this is caused by bacteria such as Salmonella or Campylobacter. Diarrhea can be mild or it can be severe, and it can lead to dehydration if it is not treated, and by the way, it can also lead to death. In severe cases, diarrhea can be life-threatening, especially in vulnerable populations, for example, in the refugee camps or in areas where the sanitation is poor. Fever. Fever is a common symptom of foodborne illnesses and can be a sign that the body is fighting off an infection. In some cases, a fever can also be a serious symptom and may require medical attention. That's why it is important that fever should not be taken lightly. Dehydration. Dehydration can occur if a person has diarrhea or is vomiting for an extended period of time. This can be a serious complication of foodborne illnesses, especially in vulnerable populations. Symptoms of dehydration include dry mouth, thirst, fatigue, decreased urinary output. Abdominal cramping, abdominal pain and cramping. Abdominal pain and cramping can be caused by a variety of pathogens, for example, Escherichia coli and Salmonella. Again, the symptoms of abdominal pain and cramping can be mild to severe, but they can also be accompanied by diarrhea and vomiting. Therefore, treatment may require over-the-counter drugs or medical attention if severe or if the abdominal pain and cramping becomes persistent. Bloody stools. Bloody stools can be a symptom of certain types of foodborne illnesses, for example, Escherichia coli infection. This can also be a serious symptom and should be evaluated by healthcare providers. Other symptoms that may accompany bloody stool include abdominal pain, fever, and also diarrhea. Bloody stools. Rest and rehydration are important for most of the individuals who suffer from food illnesses. Why? Because rest and rehydration, they are part of the treatment. Drinking plenty of fluids can help to reduce loss of fluids and electrolytes, and it can also ease the symptoms of diarrhea and also vomiting. For example, if you diurete a lot, remember you lose a lot of fluids, you lose a lot of electrolytes, then your body becomes very weak. So if you drink a lot, then the body weakness may be relieved slightly. Over-counter medications like antidiarrheals or anti-nausea medications can be used to help manage the symptoms. Let's look at treatment. Treatment in bacterial infections. In case of foodborne illnesses, antibiotics may be prescribed to fight the infection. Antibiotics, remember, they work against a lot of bacterial infections so that they can be used to treat bacterial infections and not viral or parasitic infections. Therefore, it is important to take a full course of antibiotics as prescribed because if it's not taken in full course, as a full course, the bacteria may not all die at the same time. If you don't complete the antibiotics, it means that the body may become resistant to the antibiotic. Let's continue with the treatment. Supportive care in severe cases. In severe cases of foodborne illnesses, the individual may need to be admitted in the hospital and also given more care there. Some of the supportive care include intravenous fluids. The intravenous fluids help to rehydrate the body. The intravenous fluids will also provide the body with the electrolytes. Oxygen therapy can be administered in case the patient is having difficulties in breathing, and other forms of supportive care will be offered. For example, fluid diet. In some cases, surgery may be required to remove an infected tissue or treat complications like intestinal blockage. Prevention of parasitic prevention. Let's look at the prevention of foodborne illnesses. Proper handling and preparation, tips for prevention, awareness of food recalls, and examples of preventative measures. Let's look at how we can handle food and prepare food properly. Proper food handling and preparation are very important in preventing food illnesses. This includes most of the practices which we usually do. For example, washing hands with soap and water, and surfaces where we work from or where we prepare food from, this should be cleaned frequently. Separating raw meat from other vegetables. For example, you've gone to the market, the raw meat should be packed in a separate bag from the green vegetables, such that the vegetables are not contaminated by the meat. Cooking food to the proper temperature, and also boiling food maybe that has been left over will help to kill most of the microorganisms, and refrigerating foods promptly, because if we don't refrigerate them, then the microorganisms will be given chance to grow. Other tips for food handling and preparation include avoiding cross-contamination and avoiding raw or undercooked eggs. Remember, eggs should be properly cooked, because if you don't cook them properly, you will stand a chance of getting salmonella. Let's continue with the tips for prevention. Additional tips for preventing foodborne illnesses include washing fruits and vegetables thoroughly before eating them, avoiding unpasteurized dairy products, for example, the milk, and using a food thermometer to ensure that meat and poultry can be cooked to appropriate temperature. But how many of us have these thermometers at home? All in all, what is important is that you need to cook the food, and you need to cook the food such that it is ready. Consumers should also be aware of food recalls and avoid consuming recalled products. Most of the times, some of the manufacturers of these products may call back their products, or they may take them back to the factory either to make corrections in the products they have made. So if any product has been recalled back to the factory, remember that it could be having problems. So please ensure not eating them. Awareness of food recalls. Food recalls are issued when a food product is found to be contaminated with harmful pathogens. Consumers should be aware of recalls and avoid eating the recalled products. Remember, information about food recalls can usually be found on websites of the government agencies, for example, those websites which deal with the Food and Drug Administration. Preventative measures for foodborne illnesses include also proper sanitation. People should ensure that they have a good working toilet, and also hygienic practices in food production and processing facilities, routine inspections of government agencies, and education and training for food handlers and consumers, training them to ensure that they need to clean the areas where they are preparing the food. Washing of hands is very important. Other prevention measures can include food irradiation and the use of antimicrobial agents in animal feed. Summary of the key points. Food illness is caused by consuming contaminated food or drink, and it can be prevented through proper food handling and preparation techniques. The symptoms of food illnesses range from mild to severe. Most of the time, they may include nausea and vomiting, diarrhea, fever, and abdominal pain and cramps. Let's look at call to action for practicing food safety. Practicing food safety is everybody's responsibility, and we can all take steps to prevent foodborne illnesses. These include the following: being mindful of food handling and preparation practices, staying informed about food safety issues, and also advocating for better food safety measures at the community and national level. Don't forget the foods that have been recalled back. Do not use them because most of the times they could be contaminated. Conclusion. In conclusion, preventing foodborne illnesses is essential in protecting public health and also reducing the incidence of food-related illnesses. By following proper food handling and preparation techniques, and also staying informed about food safety issues, and also advocating for better and food safety measures, we can work towards a safer and healthier food system. Thank you for listening.